Facebook, and Zoom as well. So thanks for joining us. We're about ready to get started in just a minute. We're joined by our host, Sister Amira Bay. Our topic, a world at war, world gone crazy, or world gone broke. And Happy New Year, despite it all. Okay.
Okay, we are live. Let me show this. Wrong slide.
You're not gonna play the music?
I am.
Oh,
It's still on this slide. I'm trying to exit out, and it's going slow for some reason. Let me stop the share permission. On top of the. Okay. Now went with no problem.
okay.
Assalamu alaikum. We are back again with 19th Element, California Radio, World at War, World Gone Crazy, World on Fire, etc. And I will welcome you. Introducing Dr. Alim Muhammad. I'm Sister Amira Bay. And here we go again.
All right. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Can you hear me?
Walaikum assalam. Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, very good, very good. Welcome, welcome, everyone. This is the 19th Element. It's the second part of the Survival Show. The first part being the Your Immunity Project that airs every Tuesday at 7 p.m. And on Wednesdays, it's the second part, the geopolitical strategic part, the war and peace part. where we talk about issues outside of the realm of health. So welcome once again. This is the 19th Element. I'm your host, Dr. Alim, assisted by Sister Amira Bey. And the world is at war. The world has gone crazy. And believe it or not, the world has gone broke. Broker than it was just last week. Last week, we pointed out that Donald Trump had to come up with $3 trillion by December 27th. Hey, it didn't work out, as we shall see. And what does that mean for you and me going forward into the new year? And before I forget, let me wish you a happy new year. I don't know how happy 2025 has been for you. It hasn't been very happy for most people, or a lot of people, unless you're one of the very rich. But going forward into 2026, what do we have to face? And so about 5 years ago, at the beginning of the, maybe not quite 5 years ago, with the 19th Element, uh, just for fun, I decided I was going to try to make some predictions for the coming year, just for fun. And so I've been doing that, at the end of each year, trying to look ahead, trying to decipher the trends and the meaning of current events and to see what lies ahead. It's a part of our principle with the Your Immunity Project, the first principle being prevention. And you can't prevent anything if you can't see it coming. And so we try to see what's coming in the coming year. And when I look through my crystal ball, not that I really have one, what I see is disaster, disaster after disaster, natural disasters, cosmic disasters, spiritual disasters, economic disasters, political disasters, disasters that you can't even imagine, disease epidemics, volcanic ash in the atmosphere, darkening the entire planet and cooling it down tremendously. And on we could go, but it's disaster after disaster. So we're going to take a look at some of the current headlines that are going on right now, but this is just a prelude. This is just a prelude to more disaster. So prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Make firm resolutions for yourself, for the survival of yourself, for the continuation of your existence and the existence of your family and your friends and your community. Do it while you have time, even though the time is very late and the time is short. So Sister Amira, let's go to our headlines. There's quite a few, and I'm not going to show them in any particular order. It's just the way it is. If the sequence is a little confusing as we go through it, well, that's because what's going on in the world is more than a little confusing. It's confusing the wise of this world and turning their wisdom into foolishness. But despite that, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And do the best you can to make it through to the next new year. So now, this first image is a flyer for an ongoing lecture series that we're giving with prayer and fasting. Prayer and fasting meets on a daily basis. I'm with them on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. and Monday mornings at 9 a.m. And the relevant topic for the last week or two has been who will resurrect the dead nation. You should say the dead nation, because we're not just talking about the mentally dead who reside in the wilderness of North America. We're talking about the spiritually dead, the morally dead people throughout the world, reminding everyone that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was not just a messenger of Allah to we, the so-called American Negroes in the wilderness of North America, but no, he was and is the messenger of Allah to the world. And so it's incumbent upon us to deliver his message, his life-giving teachings, to bring about within ourselves and among others our resurrection from death. Next image, please. So don't miss it. This is coming Sunday with prayer and fasting. You can join them 7 days a week if you want to. Now, these are the elements of survival. These are the elements of survival. You must have wealth, health, and a survival plan. You have to have food for survival. You have to have water. You have to have clean air. You have to have good health. You have to have good health. How good is your health? Could you actually run a quarter mile if you had to? If you had to save your life, could you run a quarter mile without falling down in a heap? Are you that healthy? Because the time ahead is a time of trouble, and you might just have to do that. Could you carry someone else on your back who couldn't move on their own? Are you that strong? Are you that healthy? If there's a famine in the land, are you fortified nutritionally and with the discipline enough to endure hunger and famine? Is your immune system strong enough to withstand the pandemics and epidemics that are already being planned, that are already upon us? And of course, what about your wealth that's being stolen by inflation? And of course, by all other means. But the fall of the dollar is a reality now. You know you can't buy as much groceries as you used to with the same amount of money. And you know that your wages are not increasing to keep up with the rate of inflation. So how are you going to preserve your wealth so that you actually will have something at the end of this year? Benjamin Franklin said a penny saved is a penny earned. Well, look in your wallet, look in your savings account on this last day of the year, 2025. What do you have saved up? Because that's a measure of your actual wealth that's in your possession. So we're moving away from paper wealth, wealth denominated in paper dollars. The entire world is moving away from that. They're moving towards gold and silver. And if you've been paying attention to the precious metals markets, you see that gold is at an all-time high. Silver is reaching all-time highs and expected to go higher as we enter into 2026. So the wise are moving their wealth from paper assets, stocks and bonds. They don't want that paper anymore. They want gold coins and silver coins, gold bars and silver bars. And so the wise of the world are collecting their wealth against the day of trouble. And of course, your preparation is all about preserving your own life. And so as we see from the headlines, what's the fate of Obamacare? What's the fate of Medicaid? What's the fate of Medicare? What's the fate of your health insurance? The predictions are, not mine, but the economists who look at these things, they say that your health insurance rates are going to go up by 3 or 4 times in 2026. It will become unaffordable for most people. Just as food is becoming unaffordable for some people. Look at all of the food recalls. Look at the culling of the herds of cattle and sheep and chickens and turkeys that has been going on for the last few years. So there's food shortages everywhere, empty shelves beginning to appear. So take care of your wealth, take care of your health, take care of your survival. Remember, the race is not to the swift nor the strong, but to those who endure to the end. The end of what? To the end of this world that is taking place as I speak. And survival means that you are alive at the end of this world to go into the next, called the hereafter. Next image, please. So for the believers, the hereafter is sure. And so this is a part of the presentation this coming Sunday, death, resurrection, and the rise. Next image, please. And there was a lot of interest in this image this past Sunday. This is a portrait of the Virgin Mary painted by Apostle Luke, one of the 12 disciples. And according to him, according to this portrait painted by him, this is how the Virgin Mary looked. And when I looked at his portrait of the Virgin Mary, I said, to me, that resembles the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so that struck at me an understanding that the preservation of souls is what is important. And the souls of men are immortal. And so the soul of Jesus still exists and could, even after 2,000 years, inhabit another's body. Next image, please. And who's that on the knee of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? And so This is a coin that was minted by a brother in the Nation of Islam of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad years ago. Because the idea, one of the ideas for the Commission for the Restructuring and Reorganization of the Nation of Islam was to preserve the wealth of the believers in gold and silver coins. And so brother minted a limited quantity of these coins, some in gold, some in silver, in different denominations. I don't have the obverse side of this coin, but it shows Mas Maryam on the other side, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on this side. And so the price of gold at that time, going back 8, 9, 10 years, was what it was, maybe less than $1,000 an ounce. What is it today? Well over $4,000 an ounce. So it means the wealth of the believers would have been increased by 400% in a very natural, lawful way, free of riba. Next image, please. Is it too late to do this now? Is it too late? See, that's the silver version. Next image, is it too late? Is all the wealth gone? Is it all exhausted? Never to be recovered? See, here we go. Trump's cash for health care scheme faces rough road in Congress as insurance costs set to skyrocket. In other words, instead of putting you in a national health care plan like most countries do to safeguard the health of their citizens, Mr. Trump's scheme is to just send you a check in the mail of inflated dollars and go buy your own health care wherever you can find it. Well, having heard that, the Abundant Life Health Care Plan came into existence as an idea, and we're working feverishly to be able to present you something that you can use the cash that he's going to send to you. Now, don't take it to heart now. He's a big liar. So will you actually get a $1,500 check like he says? Well, if you do, then you can use it to sign up for the Abundant Life Health Care Plan, which would be less than $1,500 a year. Next image, please. Maybe about 1,000. We're working on the exact numbers. Individual plans, family plans, group plans, that kind of thing. Using nutrition as our basis of diagnosis and treatment. So here's what's happening. You see, all of the silver has left New York. There's no silver left in New York. You know J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan has always controlled the silver. J.P. Morgan, you know, the pirate J.P. Morgan back in history. What did he do with all that silver? Long John Silver. What did he do with all that silver? Well, you know what pirates do with their treasure? They hide it out in a treasure island somewhere. So long ago, J.P. Morgan, the pirate, he took all of his silver, and the treasure island that he's selected was called Manhattan. So all the silver that he stole during his pirate days has been housed in J.P. Morgan. And of course, other silver from other parts of the world has accumulated there over the century, not over the centuries, but over the years. But now all of that silver that J.P. Morgan once controlled, the ill-gotten gains of piracy, hey, all that's moved to Shanghai now. And you can see the reason why. See, if you went back a couple of weeks ago, you could buy an ounce of silver for maybe $50. And they were calling that a dramatic rise in price. Yeah, you go back a month or so ago, you could buy an ounce of silver for $50. But in Shanghai, they said, well, we'll pay more than that. And on average, they were paying about 18% above the spot price. So that means that if you had silver to sell, trying to raise cash, would you sell it in New York for $50 or sell it in Shanghai for 18% more? So all the big bullion dealers that own all of these big bars of silver, who have invested in silver and gold, all the central banks of Europe and America, what did they do with the silver reserves that they had on stock? Hey, send it to Shanghai, where they could make the best profit. And so that's why the vaults are empty in New York, the vaults are empty in London, and all of the banks all over Europe. Europe is broke, America's broke, England is broke. So that's why the world is at war. That's why the world is going crazy. And that's why the world is broke. Now, when we say the world is broke, we don't mean the whole world. China's not broke. Russia's not broke. Many other parts of the world, they're not broke. We're saying that America's broke. Uncle Sam is broke. The European Union is broke. Germany's broke. France is broke. England is broke. Europe is broke. The world that we have known, as the powers of the world, the powers that be, that never should have been, they're all broke now. Next image, please. And this is the reason why. So now you should get in on this while you can. Go to a coin shop and convert all your cash money into silver coins and gold coins, as much as you can afford, at any price. At any price. Don't bargain for a price too hard. See if you can get a price, but you're going to pay at least 5% above spot price. So now this is an image, and you should answer the question. Are you one of them? One of the dumb sheep going over the brink? Are you one of them? Maybe you are. Well, then help yourself. Take a leap of faith that the world that you have known is going to be the same as the year goes on. Next image, please. They're talking about the death of critical thinking. People don't like to think anymore. Now, this is an interesting story. See the secrets that are in Antarctica. And those secrets are beginning to come out. To tell the truth, I don't know too much about what this means, but apparently there was something down there that attracted the interest and the worship of the Pope under the ice in Antarctica. You say, well, how do you know this is not a fake photo? I don't know if it's a fake photo or not. But I do know that it's out there. And I do know whether this is fake or not. There is something in Antarctica that is not fake. And if you want to know about it, we'll talk about it some other time in detail. But look up a document that is called the Instructions to Muhammad, alayhi salam, referring to Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salam, the Instructions to Muhammad from Jibril. And then those instructions over the course of history were made secret. And right now, they are in the possession of the Russian Orthodox Christians, even though these are the instructions given by the angel Jibril to Muhammad concerning the last days. Now, the instructions are concerning a weapon that is to be used in the last days. And that weapon was to be hidden secretly in Mecca, which it was. And then not so long ago, in 2015, accidentally discovered and detonated accidentally, killing 1,200 people in Mecca. And the Russians were called in. There's more details to this story than I'm giving right now. And the Russians were called in to transport this weapon that is known by the name, the Ark of Gabriel. And they transported it to Antarctica for safekeeping. So keep that in the back of your mind. Instructions were given to Muhammad by Gabriel, concerning a weapon to be secretly guarded until the last days in Antarctica. It was to be secreted in a place according to the instructions where the angels first prayed before the creation of man. So you can look that document up in Jibril's instructions to Muhammad and read it for yourself. Next image, please. And part of the reason for the animosity towards the Russians, of course, has to do with that. They have the secret and the Western world does not. So here we go. This was, I think, just today. Silver hit $80. Next image, please. Going higher. In Shanghai, of course. In Shanghai. That's where the money power is now. Not in Washington, not in New York, not on Wall Street, not in London, not anymore. Get used to it. panic in Israel as Yemen strikes Tel Aviv. Well, of course, they've been doing that consistently, closing down the Red Sea ports of Israel, putting a stranglehold on Israel as best they can from Yemen in support of the Palestinians. And when the Israelis said that there was going to be a ceasefire, then the Yemenis stopped firing on Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel and vessels in the Red Sea. But as we showed last night on the Your Immunity Project, Israel has violated the so-called ceasefire 738 times. And so now they are being bombarded again by the Yemenis, the so-called Houthis, the Ansarullah. Now again, referring to the prophecies of the end time. One of the signs of the end is the fire that comes out of Yemen. Go read it for yourself in the hadith of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. When a fire comes out of Yemen, that will be one of the signs of the end. And don't you see it? Next image, please. Don't you see it? Now, this was all in the news on Christmas Day. Santa Claus struck Nigeria with what? Tomahawk missiles, Hellfire missiles? They haven't really said. U.S. strikes ISIS in Nigeria after Trump warnings on Christian killings. Well, now there's a lot of speculation about what really happened. Evidently, the Nigerian government got misled by the U.S. They had a warship off the coast in the Gulf of Guinea and apparently fired missiles from that ship into Sokoto in Nigeria. Now, Sokoto in northern Nigeria is very famous in history. The emir of Sokoto in Nigeria is holding in his hands the levers of power in Nigeria. You can't be the president in Nigeria unless you get the nod of the emir of Sokoto. That is the stronghold of the Muslim population. About 50% of Nigerians are Muslim, and the other half is largely Christians. And there's some people who aren't either, but mostly Nigeria is pretty much evenly divided between Christians on one hand and Muslims, especially in the north. It's all Muslims. So to strike Sokoto on Christmas Day in the name of protecting Christians is a very symbolic move. Now, apparently, nobody was killed. When you look at the photos of the damage, it looks like a pile of straw. No significant buildings were taken out. No identification was made of who was being attacked. The alleged leader of the terrorist groups in northern Nigeria, and they're real, they are really terrorists. He was on TV the next day laughing at the Nigerian government for being the fools of the Americans. And many across Africa are calling the Nigerians fools for going along with America's scheme. Next image, please. Nigeria being the most populous nation in Africa. But Nigeria was on the list for depopulation. Go read National Security Study Memorandum 200, written by Henry Kissinger back in the 70s. And Henry Kissinger said, I'm almost quoting, he said early in the 21st century, it will be Nigeria and not ourselves who will determine the use of Africa's resources. And more than likely, Nigeria would decide that Africa's resources should be used by the Africans. And he described Nigeria in the 21st century as the first bona fide superpower on the African continent. And that's why Nigeria was put on the list for depopulation, to prevent that from happening. And of course, in the Western Hemisphere, they listed Brazil being the biggest African nation outside of Africa. So now keep in mind that ISIS or ISIL, they keep changing the names. Keep in mind, they were all created by the US CIA. So if there are ISIS terrorists and ISIL terrorists operating in Nigeria and Benin, and Mali and Chad, these are creations of the CIA and the British MI6. If you want to know the headquarters of any terrorist group in the world, you have to go to London. Every terrorist network throughout the world is being run from London, trained by MI6 and trained by the CIA, and then deployed around the world under the disguise that somehow these are Islamic people. These are not Islamic people. These are demonic people under the spell of Satan. Next image, please. See, this has to do with the overthrow of Libya, the killing of Muammar Gaddafi, and the theft of Libyan gold. That opened up Libya in the north for all of these terrorist groups that have been groomed by MI6 and the CIA to come into Africa. That's how they're getting into Africa now. They're coming through Libya. Then they're down through the desert into all of the countries of the Sahara, causing trouble. Well, these are just, intelligence operatives of the CIA, of MI6. And here of late, you even have the Israeli Mossad involved with it. You have the Ukrainian involved in it. Ukrainians training terrorists, supplying terrorists in Africa with weapons. So that explains what happened to the missing weapons that have been shipped to Ukraine. The untrackable weapons sent to Israel, they end up in Africa in the hands of CIA, MI6 trained terrorists to destabilize Africa. And now they have attacked the most populous nation in Africa with their weapons. And the Nigerian government seems like they don't know what to do or what to say about it. Next image, please. Yeah, this is what we were talking about last week. See, that's Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. He was the one that had to come up with the $3 trillion to keep America afloat financially. And so when they had the last auction to sell U.S. bonds, which is really, people buying U.S. debt to roll over the current debt, the $3 trillion that was immediately due within 24 hours, and they couldn't sell a single bond. Not a single nation stepped forward to say, we're going to buy your bonds. And in reality, the only nation strong enough and big enough to buy $3 trillion worth of U.S. assets would be China. And this is the same idiot that has helped Trump declare trade war and economic war against China. So what chance do you have that China's going to pick up your debt to save your economy? So again, these people are literally insane. Next image, please. But the fact is that America now has defaulted on a $3 trillion nut that is owed to the rest of the world. So this is Trump's response. The world will die. The world will die. Since we can't pay our debts, okay, then we're gonna do whatever we have to do to get out of our debt. And the world will die is a dire warning because he has the means to make the world die. He has his hands on the nuclear trigger. So if he decided to, hey, it's all lost. We lost everything. We can't pay our debts. We're no longer the unipolar power in the world, so let's end it all. The world will die. So I would say, if this is the second part of the survival show, what would be the greatest threat to your and my survival into 2026? I think you're looking at him. Next image, please. The insanity of Donald Trump. Now, this is an unusual view of the world. This is from the top down. This is from the North Pole down. So if you were looking down at the North Pole, you see it right there in the middle, and then the Arctic Circle going around. And right there, within the Arctic Circle, is Greenland. And of course, Trump says he wants to conquer Greenland. He wants to take the U.S. military and overthrow the government in Greenland and take it over as a U.S. possession, turn it into the 51st state. Of course, he's talking about doing the same thing with Canada. He wants to turn Canada into the 51st state. And then that would connect Alaska through Canada all the way to the continental United States. So again, what you understand is the agenda going forward in 2026 is an agenda of conquest, overthrowing governments, starting wars to conquer territory, to gain control of natural resources. And of course, in the Arctic here, what you're looking at is the trade route that has been developed by the Chinese and the Russians, where they are now opening up trade routes through the Arctic Sea. Most of the time it's covered with ice, but they've built a fleet of icebreakers, the Russians and the Chinese, so they can haul goods from the eastern hemisphere to the western hemisphere in record time. And of course, if this is allowed to continue, then it means that the Suez Canal and all the rest of that, hey, that's obsolete. This is a part of the Belt and Road Initiative that is transforming the world. There's a route that's a southern route through the Indian Ocean. There's an overland route that ends up in Iran and then goes north into Europe. But then this is the Arctic route. So in other words, you can't stop China and Russia from trading with the rest of the world, no matter what you do. And see up there at the top, the Bering Straits, that little narrow inlet of water that separates Russia from Alaska. Remember, Alaska used to belong to Russia. Well, now the Russians and the Chinese engineers saying, hey, we could build an underwater tunnel that would connect Russia directly with the United States. And we can build highways all the way, high-speed maglev trains all over North America coming from Asia, cutting down the transport time and the shipping costs of economic goods. So they want to build a global network of trade and commerce where everybody prospers. It's what they call a win-win situation. Everybody wins. Everybody gets big. Everybody gets rich. Next image, please. But Trump wants to get up there and shut that down. That's what he wants to do. So now, all over, see, this is ISIL, this is ISIS, the CIA-created terrorist group. So what are they doing? They're killing Christians all over the Middle East, and they're also killing Muslims. So you have to understand that a part of the depopulation agenda is to get rid of not everybody necessarily in equal amounts. No, kill all of the Muslims. Kill all of the Muslims. That's part of the depopulation agenda. Kill all of them. Kill some of the Christians, the ones that are really true Christians, like the Orthodox Christians in Russia and other parts of the world. Kill all the Christians that won't bow down to the Pope. See, that's the depopulation agenda. Kill all the Jews that aren't Zionists. And then those that are left will be of the synagogue of Satan, the church of Satan, the mosque of Satan. But all the true Muslims and Christians and Jews must be murdered. Because the depopulation agenda, of course, is the agenda of Satan. Next image, please. These are the days of the Antichrist. You're living through the days of the Antichrist, the misrule of the Antichrist. Go look it up. Go look up the word Saturnalia. Look up the word Saturnalia and find out who is the Lord of misrule, the Lord of misrule in the Saturnalia. And what is the Saturnalia? Go look it up. Do your homework. Find out what time it is and who's in charge and who's doing what. So here we go. See, airstrike hits Nigeria. But they didn't hit Mali. They didn't hit Niger. They didn't hit Burkina Faso. Why? Because the president, Tinubu of Nigeria, he's made secret pacts with France against these brothers. He's trying to attack them. Made secret deals with America. And then got double crossed. Next image, please. So Africa's learning how to defend herself. And I would suggest that Nigeria needs to get on the right side of things before it's too late. Now, again, this has to do with the preservation of your wealth. If you could just afford 9 ounces of silver, according to this expert, I'm not an expert. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but he's basically making a strong point that silver is the basis of your economic security going forward into 2026. So I don't care what you have to do. You need to get in your hands, in your possession, according to him now, at least 9 ounces of silver and more if you can. And then according to him, hey, you're set for life. You can retire on that. This is similar to what happened in the 1930s during the Great Depression, where I'm told that if you just had one gold coin, you could buy a whole block of real estate with one gold coin. That's how bad the inflation was. So maybe it's going to be like that again. Next image, please. History does repeat itself, or at least it rhymes. See, that's what they're so mad about with Nicolas Maduro. Everybody talks about how much oil they have, which they have a lot. They have the largest oil reserves known on planet Earth. In Venezuela, they should be rich. The fact that they aren't rich in Venezuela is proof that they've been robbed all these years. But not only do they have oil, they got gold. They got gold. Now, the truth is the British stole $24 billion worth of Venezuela's gold. That's one of the reasons why Venezuela is in such bad shape. They got $24 billion of gold that was in London. And the British refused to release it so Venezuela could use that gold to develop itself. So I hope they get the $24 billion back. But even if they don't, they got 24 billion more in the ground that the Chinese and the Russians are helping them to dig out. So that's what Trump is after. We don't have any gold in Fort Knox. Elon Musk and I went down there and we found out all the gold was stolen out of Fort Knox. So we go down to Venezuela, we can steal their gold and put it in Fort Knox. And then everything will be good again. Next image, please. He who has the gold rules. That's the golden rule. So this is in line with our topic with prayer and fasting, resurrection. So if the righteous are being resurrected, well, the wicked are trying to resurrect the wicked. So one of the purposes of the Iraqi war was to find the tomb of Nimrod and to take the tomb of the body of Nimrod from the tomb and then do genetic engineering on it and see if we can genetically revive and clone and revive and resurrect Nimrod. So now if they were successful in their experiments to resurrect Nimrod, well, right now he would probably be in his early 20s if they were successful. And some people say that's going to be revealed as the Antichrist. The resurrected body through cloning of the original Nimrod of Babylon. How about that? They just celebrated his birthday on the 25th of December. Next image, please. So maybe in 2026, you're going to see such things. So now we're going to talk about all of these things. That's an image of Osiris there on the right, the God of the resurrection. So we're going to be talking about that on this coming Sunday. Next image, please. The fruit cast away. That might be you. Who will resurrect the dead nation? Don't you want to know? Next image, please. So we're going to be talking about the preservation of souls for their eventual resurrection into a new world. Suppose all of the souls of the righteous people have been preserved since forever, so that they could then be preserved to inhabit a better world than this one to come, called the hereafter. Suppose that's true. Then it means that perhaps the soul of Jesus, as the Quran says, Allah said, I'm bringing your soul to me. Perhaps his soul has been preserved and then used to inhabit another body at another time. So we'll talk about those things this coming Sunday. Next image, please. See, I put those pictures side by side. They look like the same person to me. So what would that mean if the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the Virgin Mary, for real? He was born in the month of the Virgin in September. The dark age has begun. Yes, for real. See, they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline some years ago in Europe that supplied a lot of the energy, especially to Germany and other countries. Because of their environmental insanity, the green movements in Europe have shut down all of the nuclear power plants. And they're trying to rely on solar energy in Europe. Can you imagine that? Trying to rely on solar energy in Europe. And now, because of the conflict in Ukraine, now Russia has made a decision, well, we're just going to cut off all your gas. You're using that gas to power up your factories, to manufacture munitions that are being used against us. We don't want you manufacturing any more drones, any more missiles, any more bombs. And then you're going to use that, send it to Ukraine. Then you're going to send that into us and try to blow us up. Put sanctions on us. All kinds of things done to destroy Russia. Stating clearly your intention to invade Russia by 2030 with an all-out war of NATO against Russia to steal Russia's resources. So being the wise statesman that he is, Vladimir Putin says, well, we'll just cut off your gas. See how you like that? So now the Europeans are literally in a new dark age. They don't have lights on anymore in many parts of Europe. The houses are cold. The people are shivering. They're huddling up in blankets. It's a new dark age. They can't turn the lights on. They can't turn anything on. They don't have enough power to run a factory. They don't have enough power to light up a house. And so literally overnight, the so-called advanced civilization of Europe has been reduced back to the Dark Ages. Literally. Next image, please. They don't have much food to eat either. Now, Trump has been pounding his chest saying that he's going to invade Mexico. Don't forget that the globalists have an agenda that they call the North American Union, the union of Canada, America, and Mexico into one country. So Trump has been saying because of the drug cartels down there in Mexico, claims that Hezbollah is down in Mexico. We got to go get them. Well, the president of Mexico and the Mexican government say, hey, wait a minute, we're a sovereign country. We're a sovereign country. And plus, why did you put tariffs on us? We're your number one trading partner, and you put tariffs on us? You're threatening to invade our country? Like you're threatening to invade Greenland, like you're threatening to invade Venezuela. Now you're going to come into Mexico? So Mexico put troops on the border. Then we're going to fight you, Yankee. And really, see, the Mexicans, they're still mad about 1846 when they lost control of Texas. See, they want Texas back. They want New Mexico back, Arizona and California back, and Colorado. A lot of Mexicans, they say, that's our territory, and we want it back. Next image, please. So what would you do if Mexico invaded America to take Texas back? Would you fight for the independence of Texas? Now, this is Scott Ritter, and he's a former weapons inspector for the United Nations. You know, he was actually a high-ranking officer in the military. He's on YouTube all the time, giving his commentary on what he thinks is going on. And in his considered opinion, Europe will vanish. See, that's a prediction for 2026. In 2026, you will see France go down, Europe as a whole go down, Germany go down, Hungary go down, all of them going down, England going down. Lost in war, famine, confusion, lack of energy, plunged into darkness from which they will not return. Now, of course, I don't know if Scott Ritter knows what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said about Europe and the end of Europe. He said they would end up in a lake of fire. So I guess that's the same thing. Next image, please. No more NATO, no more European Union. Now, Saudi Arabia bombs the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, weapons shipments in Yemen. Now, I'm not quite sure about all the details of this, but essentially, see, the UAE, the Arab Emirates, they were set up by the British. Now, the British set up Saudi Arabia too, back in the 1930s. But those Arab Emirates, they're basically under the control of the British. So they do whatever the British tell them to do. So for some reason, they were arming some people in Yemen, and the Saudis didn't like it, so they bombed them. Now, of course, the UAE and Saudi Arabia, not so long ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, they had Yemen under a blockade, trying to starve them to death. So this is a very confusing situation. I'm not quite sure why they bombed that port in Yemen. That's not under the control of the Houthis. Next image, please. So it looks like pandemonium is breaking out among the so-called Arab allies. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung to visit China, meet Xi Jinping in January. See, 2026. Why would South Korea, that's supposed to be a staunch ally of the United States, why would the president of South Korea be going to arch enemy territory, China? Well, that's because when remember about a month ago, Trump was over in South Korea, and he strong-armed them, made them give up they pledged $450 billion. See, he was trying to raise that $1 trillion, that $3 trillion. So he was trying to get $450 billion from South Korea, I think $350 billion from Japan, and so much from the Philippines, so much from all these different countries that's supposed to be allies. So when the South Koreans looked at that, they said, well, look, if we send $450 billion to America, that will drain all of our national treasury. South Korea will be broke. We won't have a penny left. And so some of the people in South Korea who aren't totally brainwashed, they said, wait a minute, I think we better make a visit to China. We need to get a consultation with Xi Jinping to find out how to handle these Americans. Because being an ally with America, I mean, hey, the cost is too high, $450 billion, leaving us destitute and broke so Trump can balance the American budget at the expense of the South Korean people. So a lot of the Koreans, they say, well, you know, why are we divided in the first place? Why is there North and South Korea in the first place? These people divided and conquered us, and now they're robbing us blind. We better wake up. Next image, please. So I would predict in 2026, you're going to see the reunification of Korea. And then when Korea unites, they're going to unite with Japan and China, and the three of them will be the economic wheels of the world for decades to come. So now again, you may have heard that there was a bombing of some sort in Venezuela. They didn't say what they bombed. Apparently they didn't kill anybody. Maduro's still in power. Some say it was a secret CIA operation. But whatever it was just like a firecracker going off in the night. It didn't do anything. Almost like those missile attacks in Nigeria. What did it really accomplish? Nothing. Nothing. Next image, please. I guess it makes Trump feel good. So here it is again. Saudi Arabia bombs Yemeni port over weapons shipment. Next image, please. See, the UAE is they're financing the civil war in Sudan. See, hundreds of thousands of people in the Sudan have been killed. So all those terrorists all over Africa are being financed by the UAE. So now that's why African nations are uniting. They're realizing that as these small, little independent states, they can't protect themselves. That's what Nigeria just found out. You cannot protect yourself from America. So you better do something different. And so a lot of the African nations are doing something different. They're uniting. And so the Sahel Alliance, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger just got stronger. Botswana and Namibia just joined. So now this is the reconstitution of the Mali Empire, if you will. Next image, please. The African empires are reemerging. Yeah, this is the land strike that they claim that they hurled at Venezuela. No reports of any significant damage. So it was basically just a show of force. Next image. A lot of bravado, no strategy, no victory. So again, the Sahel states, see, they're understanding that they have to have a military of their own. They have to have their own weapons. How could Nigeria have defended itself against these well-armed terrorists when America refuses to sell Nigeria the arms that Nigeria needs to defend itself? So Nigeria better wake up and stop depending on undependable allies. So now Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, he understands. So they're putting together an African military force to protect themselves. Next image, please. Now that's Kim Jong-un of North Korea. A lot of people don't know it, but he's actually the hereditary emperor of all of Asia. See, a lot of the high officials in the Chinese Communist Party, they're actually, if you trace back their family history, that's the Chinese royal family. Same thing in Vietnam, same thing in Cambodia, Thailand. You have ancient Asian royal families. In Japan, same thing. They used to have an emperor. Now they have adopted these Western-style governments. But underneath all of that, the traditional still exists. So believe it or not, the emperor of Asia is Kim. And when he speaks with a lot of authority because he's from the royal family that ruled all of Asia in times past. And so basically he's saying to Vladimir Putin, annihilate your enemies. Stop fooling around. Stop going slow. Stop being strategic. This man over here, he tried to kill you the other day. So why don't you just wake up to the fact that these people cannot be negotiated with. They cannot be reasoned with. There's no diplomatic solution that you can arrive at. There's no treaty that they would sign that they would uphold. So all you can do is just annihilate them. Next image, please. So watch and see. That's probably what's going to happen. Liquidate the leaders. That's what the message is in Russia now. They tried to kill our leaders, so let's take care of them. Next image, please. See, assassinations can go both ways. Now, this is another commentator, a military man, Colonel Douglas McGregor. He knows a lot about war. He knows a lot about the history of war. And just like in World War I, Britain deceived America and got America involved in World War I. Americans didn't want to be in World War I, but they got deceived and tricked into it. They got tricked into World War II again. What's that old expression? Fool me once, shame on me. On you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Now here it looks like America's getting tricked for the third time, getting ambushed to be drawn into a war in Europe where they will be destroyed, along with Europe. Facing revolution at home, civil war at home, civil anarchy at home. So the ambush has been set, the trap has been set. So in 2026, I guess America's gonna fall into it because they haven't gotten any smarter. As a matter of fact, it looks like they have gotten dumber. Next image, please. 100 years ago, Americans were pretty smart. How about now? So now that's the Prime Minister of Canada on the left there, Mark Carney. He used to be the governor of the Bank of England. He's actually from England. Remember that the head of state of Canada is the King of England. So the King of England deployed Mark Carney from the Bank of England to take over Canada. And so now he's in charge in Canada, and now he's playing hardball with Trump. See, the British want to keep the war going on in Ukraine. Trump's trying his best to get out of it. And so they have countered his move with a move of their own. So the King of England, seems like a chessboard. The king has deployed, his knight, Mark Carney, to Canada to make a move against Trump. And what is the move? Well, all of the industries in the Midwest, in Chicago and Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, the big farm belts, the big manufacturing belts in the Great Lakes area of America. Do you know all of that manufacturing goods and all of that economic activity has to exit the United States through the Great Lakes and then out through the St. Lawrence Seaway into the Atlantic so they can trade with the rest of the world? And do you know that the St. Lawrence Seaway is not controlled by America? It's controlled by Canada. And since Trump imposed tariffs against Canada, guess what Canada did in retaliation? They closed off the St. Lawrence Seaway. So now the American farmers in the Midwest can't get their goods into the market. The manufacturers in Michigan and Illinois and Indiana, they can't get their goods to market. The St. Lawrence Seaway has been shut down by Canada. So America's under embargo. America's under a barricade. A blockade, I mean. America's being sanctioned. So suppose the soybean farmers and the corn farmers can't get their crops into the international market, then what? Suppose the steel producers, the auto producers in the Midwest, they can't trade with the rest of the world, then America's cut off. Messing with Canada, next image. Gonna make Canada into the 51st state. They showed you, Mr. Trump. So again, people all over the place, they're telling you the same story. You better get you some silver, better get you some gold. Next image, please. Any other type of investment is a risk. Now, what just blew up in Los Angeles? We see explosions taking place in Yemen, explosions taking place in Moscow, explosions taking place in Kiev, explosions in Tel Aviv, explosions in Nigeria, explosions in Venezuela. Hey, it's explosions taking place everywhere. There was an explosion in Los Angeles. So who blew up something in Los Angeles? I hope it wasn't those Nigerians doing something. But somebody hit something in Los Angeles. And not so long ago, didn't they blow up an oil refinery in Los Angeles? I wonder who did that. Next image, please. They never did say who did that. And then somebody blew up some railroad tracks somewhere yesterday and derailed the train. So I think we showed this image already. Next image, please. So the U.S. blockade of Venezuela has failed. Despite the deployment of 1/6 of the naval forces of America around Venezuela, guess what happened? I think they did take over 2 oil tankers. That's about all they were able to do. But then the third one refused to stop, and they couldn't do nothing. And then now the oil tankers out of Venezuela have escorts from the Chinese Liberation Army Navy. Chinese warships escorting Venezuelan oil tankers to China because they've invested billions of dollars in Venezuela. So they're not going to let Trump cut off their oil supply. So Chinese naval vessels in the Caribbean, Russian naval vessels and bombers in Venezuela, high-tech hypersonic missiles in Venezuela. So what do you think one of those hypersonic missiles would do if Venezuela decided to fire it at an aircraft carrier? It would put it at the bottom of the sea. 5,000 dead sailors at one blow. Or how about a hypersonic missile that goes all over the Caribbean Sea and hits New Orleans, hits Miami, hits Atlanta, Georgia? What would that mean to you? Don't say they can't do it. They've been given the means to do it. Venezuela can defend itself. Next image, please. And the blockade means nothing because China's not going to let you cut them off from oil. So these economic predictions are very dire. A black swan event in 2026, total collapse of the dollar, total collapse of Wall Street, total collapse of the economic markets, total chaos, total collapse in the real estate market. Are you ready? Next image, please. How bad do things have to get before you believe that they're really bad? So the person of the year in Africa is the giant from Burkina Faso, who is showing, the way of leadership now for Africans. Anybody that's less than him, hey, they're being thrown out. If you can't stand with this man, if you can't stand like this man, he's showing you that it can be done, that Africa can defend itself. Africa can unite with itself and throw the neo-colonialists out and defeat the terrorists on our own terms and throw them out. Next image, please. That's President Ramaphosa of South Africa, under attack. Trump is threatening South Africa too. Just like he threatened Nigeria and then bombed Nigeria on Christmas Day. What did he say he was going to do to South Africa? Claiming that the blacks in South Africa are discriminating against the whites. And he's going to go into South Africa to protect the white Afrikaners. Next image, please. See, the Israelis went into Somaliland, and don't forget, Trump has been bombing Somalia every day since he took office. So now the Israelis want to grant recognition to a breakaway province in Somalia. And that's where they intend to send the Palestinians. So now, January the 1st, tomorrow, is the beginning of Chinese lockdown. After tomorrow, it will be illegal for anybody to export silver or gold out of China. They're going to keep all of it. You can't get any of it. Now, that's important for the electronics industry, all of the transistors and the chips, the electrical vehicle industry, solar panels need a lot of silver. All the high-tech weapons that Trump is promising to build up the military, all of that requires silver. And if you can't get silver from China, where are you going to get it? You can't build your weapons. You can't build your next generation of F-35s. You can't build your hypersonic missiles. You can't even have your AI centers. So China is shutting America down. Next image, please. Without firing a shot. Now, this was all in the news. They say 91 drones were targeting Vladimir Putin's residence. Apparently, the Russian military shot all the drones down. Putin wasn't even home, but the implications are there. Suppose they had killed Putin. We probably wouldn't be here then. If they had killed Putin 2 days ago, then probably by now the third war would have broken out and all of us would be dead. But they didn't kill him, but there's going to be a retaliation. So what do you think that's going to be? Next image, please. After you cut off all the gas to Europe, now what's next? So again, people in Congress, in the Senate, they're raising questions. Who gives Trump the authority to invade Greenland? Who gave him the authority to bomb Nigeria? Who gave him the authority to put a blockade around Venezuela? I thought Congress was the only authority under the Constitution to declare war. And so some of the senators and some of the congressmen, they're saying this man is crazy. Representative Al Green, I think from Texas, he introduced articles of impeachment just yesterday. They're going to impeach Trump for real this time because this man is crazy. And his Secretary of War as well. Because everything that they're doing, from sanctions to blowing up those boats, the blockade, all of those are war crimes. So actually, these people need to be in front of an international tribunal for war criminals, along with Bibi Netanyahu and Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine. So we'll see. Will they impeach Trump for real in 2026? And then if they do, what do you get? You get J.D. Vance, who changed his name 5 or 6 times. So who is he? Next image, please. So now this was a question that came up this past Monday with the prayer and fasting hereafter question and answers. Someone was concerned. My prayers are not being answered. Why? And so we're going to delve into this coming Sunday. It has to do with the 2 witnesses to prayer. The 2 witnesses to prayer. Next image, please. So you don't want to miss. So I think this is our last image for this evening. I gave you a lot of bad news, a lot of horrible predictions for the year to come. Looks like a time of trouble is dead ahead, and we'll be lucky to survive it. But despite the bad news, the dismal outlook, the portents of evil of all sorts coming on the world, yet and still, let me be the first to wish you a happy new year. And may all of us survive it intact to see the one that comes after this. So with that, that's our broadcast for this evening. This has been the 19th Element, the last broadcast of the year as we go into the new one. So thank you for being with us, not just for this evening, but thank you for being with us throughout the year. And I hope that the information that we impart has helped you to make it through the year, and will help you to make it through the one to come. So thank you very much. Happy New Year. May all of your wishes come true. Stick to your firm resolutions, and may Allah grant you success and prosperity and victory over the disbelieving people. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. You have one hand up, sir?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we started 2 weeks ago accepting questions. So yeah, let's hear from the raised hand.
Yes, sir. Okay, Brother Dawood, you can go ahead with your question or comment.
Shalom alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam.
Okay.
Walaikum assalam. Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear him, Doc?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Jack, I love the program. I used to call myself a little mini geopolitician myself. But I kind of slacked off a little bit. I really look forward to the program. But my question is it's a big new Brzezinski's book, The Grand Chessboard. From what you're going to given tonight and what you've been given, and how everything is playing out. It's playing out exactly the way he predicted or instructed the American military to do in order to stay a relative 21st power, but 21st century power. But it's nothing is working. It's always some unforeseen something that happens that stops America, that causes her to have to regroup and recalibrate what it is that she's doing. So, Doc, if you can, what can you tell us about Zbigniew Brzezinski's predictions and how things are going? Just whatever Allah brings out of you on this topic. And another question. Last night you mentioned a young lady who articles the articles you was posting on Telegram, and I was want to kindly ask you to repeat her name again. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
I don't know. I can't remember the answer to your last question. Some young lady that I was. Maybe it'll come back to me. But I posted that broadcast on my YouTube channel, and I think it's also on Facebook, so you can go back and review it and get the name. But now, in terms of geopolitics, the grand chess game, that goes back further than Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was the national security advisor for Jimmy Carter. That goes back hundreds of years, really, when you realize that even 500 years. You see, let's not go back that far, but let's just say for the last 500 years, the ruling powers in the world have been naval powers. So the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Dutch, they all became naval powers in their turn, but ultimately it was the British whose navy ruled the seas. Britannia rules the seas. The sun never sets on the British Empire. Because see, in those days, if you had a strong warship with cannons, you could be offshore of anybody's country, and you could just bombard them from the ocean, and they had no means of responding. And so that's how the British, over centuries, managed to take control of large parts of the earth. And that's what they called the British Empire. Now, they realized that they could never win a land war. They were a naval power. They were not a land power. England doesn't have enough people to field a land army. So the most that they could do was to keep everybody that was on the land. I mean, look at the great continental power, Eurasia, millions, billions of people being controlled by a little island nation just because they had the strongest navy. See, 500 years ago, the Ming Emperor in China, they had a bigger navy than the Europeans, but they disbanded their navy, got rid of it. And that allowed them to be vulnerable later on to the British Navy. Same thing happened in Africa. 500 years ago, the Mali Empire had a navy that was the equal of any navy in Europe. But in a strategic error, the Emperor of Mali disbanded their navy. If the Mali Empire had kept their navy intact, there wouldn't have been a slave trade. There would have been a naval battle at war that the Europeans would have lost. But the Chinese and the Africans made the same mistake. They disbanded their navies, which made them vulnerable to the naval power of Europe, ultimately vulnerable to the British. So basically, the great game, the chessboard game, has been to keep confusion on the mainland, keep confusion in Asia, keep confusion in India, keep confusion in the Middle East, keep confusion on the land, and then we can rule from the sea. We can sail in with our ships. We can offload all of the resources from any of these countries, put it on our ships, and sail it back to England and make ourselves rich. And so that's been the pattern for 500 years. So basically, all of the events of the 20th and the 21st century are to try to maintain that system. Now, the problem is the British don't have a navy anymore that counts for anything. The Americans replaced them after World War II, and of course did the bidding of the British on behalf of the British. And that's why America boasts we have 11 aircraft carriers. So what? You don't have one hypersonic missile. So any number of these nations nowadays, Iran, Venezuela, Russia, China, North Korea, and other nations, they all have hypersonic missiles. So we can sink your aircraft carrier anytime we want. And at the proper moment, we will. Of course, this was predicted by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the 7th Fleet would be sunk. So maybe in 2026, we'll actually see that. So the great game has always been, not just since the days of Brzezinski, but going back hundreds of years, is to use naval power to keep the landlocked or the land countries in a state of confusion. And then we can rule them and rob them from the sea and get away clean, with our goods, and they can't attack us because we have a navy and they don't. So now the situation has changed. China has reconstituted her navy. Today, as we speak, China has a bigger navy than America and Europe put together. And they've got advanced submarines. They produce, I think in 1 year, they produced 3 aircraft carriers. And so now they are able to project power across the entire Pacific. And that's how they are able to escort the tankers from Venezuela safely across the Pacific to Chinese ports. You see, because America no longer, just like England, no longer rules the seas. It has to be shared with other naval powers. So that's the great game. Keep Asia off balance so that Europe can rule from the sea.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else?
No one else.
Okay, well then that does it for this evening's broadcast. That does it for the year, I suppose. So inshallah, God willing, we'll be back next week, which will be next year, and we'll have a chance to see whether any of my predictions come true. And I hope most of them don't. To tell you the truth, I hope most of them don't, because most of them are not too good. Not too good, even though there's a bright side somewhere. And I hope to see it along with you. So thank you for being with us for another year, for another week. This is your host signing out, Dr. Alim, assisted by Sister Amira Bay. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Walaikum assalam.
That's all I wanted? Is that all you wanted? I don't think so.